What's up everyone? My name is Cam. I'm a certified dog nutritionist and founder of The Dog Nutritionist. This is my recipe for senior dogs, a super nourishing recipe to help support your dog as they go into their latter years. Before we start making the food, I want to talk to you about some important parts of senior canine nutrition. Number one, no deficiencies. As your dog ages, they become more susceptible to nearly all types of degenerative diseases. That means you don't want to weaken your dog's body by not nourishing them with the nutrients, vitamins, minerals, and trace minerals that they need to be healthy. So, to provide a complete diet, what you need to do is get a range of recipes to use. That range creates variety and balance, and ultimately will lead to your dog having the healthiest diet possible. Number two, we need to talk about the quantity and frequency of feeding. As your dog ages, they do less. Even if you have a bouncy dog, feeding your dog at a lower frequency can help with longevity. The Canine Aging Project was a study on 35,000 plus dogs, and they found that on average, dogs fed one meal per day had better cognitive function, were less likely to suffer from gastrointestinal disorders, metabolic issues, less likely to have kidney and liver issues, pancreatitis, urinary disorders, the lot. Feeding a dog once a day is the healthiest way to feed them. Food abundance for dogs is far less natural than it is for humans. Yes, it might piss your dog off for a few days, but you are doing the best thing by them. If you don't want to feed one meal a day because maybe your dog has a health issue, then feeding them twice a day within a 6-hour window, is recommended. Finally, if your dog is overweight, that needs to be addressed immediately. It really is a huge concern for elderly dogs if they're carrying extra weight, because we know obesity contributes to all of the health issues that I've just spoken about. As dogs age, they tend to lose mobility quicker. That massively affects their quality of life. So that's kind of how I've formulated this recipe. I've also factored in that cancer is the leading cause of death in dogs, and we have ingredients that can help support your dog ultimately to prevent these issues. The best thing about homemade diets is that they are more cost effective than if you were to buy the food pre-made. All you need to do is get online, look for wholesale suppliers, just get online, you'll be able to figure it out, then you'll be making these super healthy meals for less. No brainer. Let's get cracking. All you need is a chopping board, a knife, an oven, and a mixing bowl. You're going to need a pot. It's going to be steaming our veggies today. So I'm actually going to start with the meat. This isn't a complete recipe. You need to find other recipes to use. I am using chicken, a lean meat. Chop the chicken up. You could use chicken thighs, in which case you don't have to add any additional oil. Or you can use whatever meat your dog just enjoys. Again, keep an eye on the fat quantity of the meat. Don't go too far over 10%, around 15% fat is fine, and 5% and under, add oils. Then I've got the fish. Fish is going to provide the omega-3s to help support your dog's joints. Also, the DHA omega-3 fatty acids contribute to anti-inflammatory effects and pretty much all areas of the body. Chuck all this chicken onto a baking tray. If you want to feed raw, that's absolutely fine. If the meat is a little bit, aged, then I would recommend freezing it and also putting in some herbs. Now I'm going to bang it in the oven. In about 5 to 10 minutes time, I'm going to add the fish. You can use sardines in water, you can use cod. Just make sure it's boneless if you're cooking it. That's important. We're going to put the vegetables onto steam. Broccoli stem. Broccoli is packed full of sulforaphane, which we know is an anti-cancer compound. Trying to implement the most natural lifestyle possible for our dogs. Modern research has indicated that up to 90% of cancers are caused by incorrect lifestyle and environment factors. Fresh food diets with specific ingredients, that is probably one of the most important things you can do to mitigate against it. Mushrooms, just a few mushrooms. I'm using chestnut mushrooms that are organic. Mushrooms are immune supporting ingredients. I actually gave Viola shiitake mushrooms last night and her poo wasn't fantastic. You can expect that with mushrooms, okay? Don't be put off by that. Just feed a little bit at the start. Let's get the pot. Not too much water. Chuck everything in. We're just gonna steam for 5 to 10 minutes. Now, what I'm going to do, which you might find a little bit surprising, many of you, is put a pinch of salt. We kind of forget that our dogs need sodium. Put the lid on. The other non-meats that we're gonna be using are the berries, and those just need to be chopped up and added raw at the end. If you want to bolster this recipe, you can also add some squash. Now, I want this recipe to really focus on weight control, and adding carbohydrates is going to increase the probability to weight gain. Now, if your dog is energetic still, bouncing around, senior, is pretty lean, then you can add these. Just make them 20% of the meal. I am going to whack this bit of salmon in a little bit early into the oven. Our calcium source today is going to be eggshell. The membrane of the eggshell contains collagen, which is what forms the cartilage in your dog's joints. It's just a wonderful protein that your dog can eat and is super healthy. Just make sure you're using organic eggs because of the way in which they spray non-organic eggs, and give your egg a thorough wash before you crunch it up and whack it in the recipe. However, I would really recommend that you look into feeding your dog some raw meaty bones. I know they're old, but introducing the smaller bones like wings, feet, necks are going to be super healthy. It's just because the amount of glucosamine that is bioavailable in those foods is way higher than in any supplement that you're buying. So if you're worried about your dog's mobility, then raw meaty bones are the way to go. So the chicken and the fish is cooked. I've only very lightly cooked it, and that is preferable. You just want the heat to get through the meat. Now, what we need to do is mix in all the ingredients. Then we're gonna add some chopped blueberries, the multivitamin that I use. If you can't get your hands on that, add a small handful of blackberries or other berries, some ground sunflower seeds, a tablespoon per kilogram. Just pour everything into the mixing bowl, even the liquid. That way there's no real water loss. Mix that all in first. Crack the egg in raw, so mix in nicely. Blueberries, grab your handful. I'm just gonna give it a little squeeze and then chuck them all in. If they're just whole, sometimes your dog can just spit them out. Tablespoon of this supplement. It also contains thyme, sage, seaweed, spirulina, reishi mushroom, so a bit more healthy, functional ingredients. Little mushies and the broccoli stem. In it goes. Crush up the eggshell. See this, like this skin? That is the membrane, and that is where all the collagen is stored. I'm using a knife because I don't actually have a pestle and mortar in this particular kitchen I'm filming in, and use a pestle and mortar to crush it up because your dog needs to absorb the calcium. The smaller the bits, the more they're going to absorb it. Again, still recommend the raw meaty bones as the calcium source. It's way more absorbable, way more natural. Dogs have evolved to eat raw meaty bones. They've got those razor sharp molars at the back, and they have an ancestral history dating back 50 million years of carnivores that ate bones. And that is it. We're gonna let this cool down, then I'm gonna portion it into some plastic tubs. You don't want hot food going into plastic. Something that could help prevent cancer is keeping away from those microplastics. That is my recipe for senior dogs. Let me know how it goes. If the mushies prove to be a little bit cause of soft stools, just reduce them, gradually increase them. You don't need to feed mushrooms all the time. Replace it with another vegetable that your dog enjoys, and get more recipes. Watch more videos, create that variety that your dog needs.